Hello and welcome to the Daily Climate Show. On the programme today, King Charles says he's diverting profits from the Crown Estate's offshore wind farms to the taxpayer. The government is on track to miss two-thirds of its environmental targets, according to a report from its own watchdog. And low-traffic neighbourhoods reduce overall car use, according to a new study into the controversial traffic schemes. Hello and welcome to the Daily Climate Show, where we track the changes to our world and investigate some of the potential solutions to the climate crisis. Now, King Charles has asked for a surge in profits from 6 offshore wind farms on the Crown Estate, worth £1 billion, to be used for the wider public good rather than the royal family. The royal household's public funding is based on 25% of Crown Estate profits, and the King wants to reduce this so that the Treasury keeps more for public spending. Well, the Chief Executive of the Crown Estate, Dan Labard, spoke to Sky News earlier about that decision.
What we're focused on is looking at how we can support businesses across, obviously, where we have commercial and retail and residential holdings, as well as thinking about the long term, what decisions that we need to make today that can support the country moving forward, both in terms of returning revenue to the Treasury, but also looking at things like climate change, biodiversity, and economic growth.
Well, let's get more on this story now. Our royal correspondent Laura Bundock is here with me. So, Laura, tell us more about why the King's made this decision.
Well, as part of its vast and varied portfolio, the Crown Estate owns most of the seabed around the UK. So that means if you want to build a wind farm, you need a seabed lease from the Crown Estate. So this is all about the signing of agreements of leases for 6 wind projects. Now, they're going to be off the coasts of North Wales, of Cumbria and of Lancashire, and also in the North Sea around Lincolnshire and Yorkshire as well. The idea is they, between them, will generate around 8 gigawatts of renewable electricity, which is enough to power 7 million homes. It's a long way off before they're up and running, but the idea is they should be online by 2030. This is actually the 4th round of this kind of seabed leasing when it comes to offshore wind projects that the Crown Estate has been involved in. It is big business for them as well. It's one of the reasons why the estate's marine portfolio, which includes the seabed, has been increasing so much in value in recent years. Now, the Crown Estate says it's really committed to backing these kinds of projects, these sorts of solutions to the climate crisis, things that will help the challenge of energy security. Now we have the King also saying he doesn't want to take any of the profits from this himself. And we are talking big money here. It's £1 billion from these 6 lease agreements. It doesn't all go to the King. It's worth remembering that the Crown Estate passes directly to the Treasury. They then hand over a percentage to the royal household. That's what we call the sovereign grant. At the moment, it's set at 25% to help pay for Buckingham Palace renovations. It was normally around 15%. But like I say, these are big sums of money. And the King, in the middle of a cost of living crisis, does not want to be seen to be making huge amounts of money, I think, particularly when it comes to supporting a green project like this, given his green credentials.
Yeah, fascinating. Laura, thanks very much indeed. So let's take a look now at some of the day's other climate stories making the news. And new data has revealed that temperatures in Greenland are the warmest they've been in 1,000 years, underscoring the growing impact of human-driven climate change on the natural world. A study published in the scientific journal Nature found that temperatures have risen 1.5 degrees Celsius above the 20th century average since 1995. Melt from the Greenland ice sheet is the largest contributor to global sea level rises. Government progress towards its targets to halt and reverse nature's decline by the end of the decade has fallen far short of what's needed, according to the Office for Environmental Protection. Publishing its annual progress report, the environmental watchdog concluded the government's 25-year environment plan has so far failed to bring about the changes needed at the pace and scale required, adding that the strategy lacked clarity and commitment. The North Sea's biggest oil and gas producer, Harbour Energy, plans to cut jobs in the wake of a windfall tax imposed on the sector last year. The jobs are set to be lost in the North Sea hub of Aberdeen, but the extent of the cuts is yet to be determined. It comes despite the company forecasting its 2022 cash flow to triple to $2.1 billion. New research warns that more than 40% of land vertebrates will be threatened by extreme heat by the end of the century if high emissions continue. Reptiles, birds, amphibians and mammals are being exposed to extreme heat events of increasing frequency, duration and intensity as a result of human-driven global heating. The paper published in Nature says this poses a substantial threat to the planet's biodiversity. Now, low traffic neighbourhoods have substantially reduced motor traffic in residential areas without significantly increasing traffic on the nearby main roads. That's according to a new study. The traffic schemes work by cutting off rat runs using bollards or cameras to stop drivers passing through quieter streets. Supporters of the scheme argue that they reduce car use, they encourage walking and cycling, and they improve air quality in residential areas. But critics say that they worsen traffic on main roads, slowing journeys and actually worsening air quality for those who live there. Well, I'm joined now by Hira Khan Adiogun from the climate campaign organisation Possible, who carried out the research along with Westminster University. So welcome to you. Thanks so much for talking to us. How much of a difference then did you find that these low traffic neighbourhoods make to reducing the number of cars on those streets?
Thanks for having me on. So this comprehensive study shows that they made a massive difference. So on the inner roads, we found a mean average of almost half of traffic being reduced. And on the boundary roads, we saw increases of just 1%. And so put that into context. On a road that, usually experiences about 11,000 cars in one go, the boundary road saw an increase of maybe 82 cars, something like that. But the inner road saw such substantial traffic reduction that we can categorically say that there was a decrease in traffic that's 10 times higher than what those boundary roads experienced.
Yes, because people are very split on these in their neighbourhoods, aren't they? Those who don't like them say that all they do is drive cars onto those boundary roads, as you say. But you're saying the increase is negligible. They might say a 1% rise on an already busy road makes it pretty unbearable to drive down.
So what I would say is those boundary roads probably are still polluted, they're heavily congested, and we need tougher measures, really. Low traffic neighbourhoods work for minor roads and the inner roads that the low traffic neighbourhoods were created to ease congestion there. But what we need much tougher measures for the main roads, and we need to reduce traffic across the board, across London. And so we need things like, a smart road user charging scheme, for example. And it's fantastic to see that the ULEZ is expanding to help people who live by the A406. All of that is a part of the picture.
Yes, and again, those are other issues that there are some that feel that they're controversial. And as far as your survey is concerned, there are some people who are questioning the findings, saying that there are 96 schemes, but only 46 formed part of the study. They've raised the question of whether the worst performing councils perhaps didn't submit their data. What would you say to that?
Well, I think the report is really clear. We've used the data that is available. We want to see more monitoring and evaluation across the board on LTNs. But I think this study adds to loads and loads of research that we've already produced that low traffic neighbourhoods work. And, like I said, they're not a silver bullet. We need loads of other measures as well, but we need to see our politicians get bolder and braver to reduce traffic everywhere so that we can have healthier, happier and greener cities.
OK, fascinating stuff and a really interesting debate to be had. Hira Khan Adiogun, thanks very much indeed for your time.
Thank you.
Now, before we go, just a reminder that the Climate Show with Tom Heap is back this weekend, and he's been speaking to people impacted by the vicious wildfires that destroyed homes 6 months ago after Britain's hottest ever day. That's on Saturday and Sunday at 3:30 and 7:30. And we're back on Monday at the same time. See you then.